Hey, I'm Shay and welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to hang out for a little bit and talk about books that I've read this year so far. This is the mid-year book freakout tag. Hopefully, if everything goes to plan, this will be our last video in the hotel setting. Fingers crossed. If you are new here and don't know what I'm talking about, I'm in the middle of a move and our old place was done before our new place was ready, and so we're in a hotel in the in-between. And at first I was like, oh, that sounds like fun, like hanging out in a hotel for a couple weeks. But I will tell you that the novelty of that wore off pretty quickly. So here we are. But yeah, let's hop right in and talk about some of the books I've read this year. I will say that this year so far, I've had a pretty mid reading year. A lot of the things that I have loved this year have been rereads or things that are like way backlist that I'm just now getting to from authors that a lot of people in my life love and are like, you should finally get to this. So I don't know why I've had such a mid reading year, but I'm hoping that now that I am reading more and I'm getting into the season of some of my favorite releases, that it will only go up from here. So first question is, how many books have I read this year and what are my overall stats? And starting off super strong with this one, I don't know. So I would guess that I've read maybe 30 or 40 books so far this year, but I stopped tracking my reading about a year ago. So I used to use Goodreads, I've tried Fable, I've tried Storygraphs and things like that in order to track my reading. And for a while I wasn't talking about books online anywhere or anything. And I am somebody who in school, I remember my mom having a conversation with me and being like, hey, Shay, like you need to get a B on purpose, because I was somebody who, if there was like an A through D extra credit, choose one thing to do for extra credit, I would do all four of them, even though I could only get credit for one. And so I can be really hard on myself to like hit a goal. And sometimes I feel like I find value in the way that I meet goals or complete things or whatever. And so I was trying to get away from that. So for a while I was like, you know what, just read when you feel like it. Don't when you don't track it or anything. And I'm just now coming out of feeling overwhelmed by tracking and starting to feel like it's more fun and more comfortable, because now I do kind of wish I could go back and see my stats and everything like that. And I think a break was good, but I'm on my way back in that direction. Haven't tracked a lot. My guess would be 30 or 40 books so far this year. The next question is, what is the best book I've read so far this year? And I feel like this is going to come as no surprise to anybody who enjoys fantasy at all. My best friend and my husband got together and pressured me from both sides to complete the Mistborn trilogy for the first time, and it was so good. So I'd say the best thing that I've read this year is like finally completing the Mistborn trilogy. If you haven't read it, I'm sure you've read it. Everyone has read it. It's by Brandon Sanderson, and it is just so well written, and I loved the characters, and I had no idea where the plot was going. I've never read a fantasy novel that didn't have like, I don't know how to how to say what I thought about it without spoiling it, but I don't feel like the book was about one person or one event or one clear hero or one clear savior. I feel like as you go through the trilogy, perspectives change and you see that a lot of people, even when they're not like, even when they're people with powers, they are human. So you see a lot of the humanity of like the characters in that series. And I feel like it's really good and in depth. And I always love a science-based magic system. Like I love when authors take something that really happens in our world and they manipulate it in a way to say, if it just tweaked like this, it could be magic. And I feel like Sanderson is amazing at that. So I would say probably the best thing I've read so far this year would be the Mistborn trilogy. Next, it asks what's the best sequel I read this year. And I'm going to try as hard as I can to not like repeat things, like if I said Mistborn trilogy, not to say that like the second book or the third book or whatever, but like give you new things every time. So I'd say one of my favorite sequels that I've read this year is probably Rebel Witch. I feel like it was pretty good, and it's so funny because I can think of right now, like my best friend read the book and did not like it. I think it was a DNF for her. Like there's been a lot of mixed reviews, but I really liked it as a sequel. And if we're talking about companion novels, because I will say in the first half of the year I read a lot more romance than I do fantasy, I get more into like dark academia, fantasy, things like that as it gets cooler. So I'd say the second half of the year I spend more time doing that than like the spring and the summer. And so Rebel Witch was really good, but companion novel wise for romances, I would say Left of Forever by Tara DeWitt. I really liked that one as well. And I loved the first Spoons novel in that series as well. The name is escaping me, but I will put it here. A new release that I haven't read yet, but I want to. There are a ton of them, and there are a couple videos back I give you a list of like 30. But right now I'm really looking forward to Audrey and Bash Are Just Friends by Tia Williams, and so I'm hoping to get to that one soon. My most anticipated release of the second half of the year, maybe either Sweet Heat or Mate by Ali Hazelwood. Those are two that I'm really looking forward to. I talked some about Sweet Heat in my last video or a couple videos back, but I also am just a huge Allie Hazelwood fan. I think I've talked about that too recently. And so everything she writes, I'm really excited for when it comes out. My biggest disappointment of the year so far, I feel like this might be a little controversial. I'm hoping that it's not, but I feel like this is a very popular like book talk sensation. Everybody loves it. So like, please don't come for me. But I was super disappointed by Iron Flame / Onyx Storm. I DNF Onyx Storm, so I don't even, so I'm planning, it's a soft DNF. I think I'm going to go back and read it eventually. Maybe as more of the novels come out, I will go back and try to catch up. But coming into this year, I had read all of Fourth Wing and then maybe half of Iron Flame. And then when Onyx Storm was coming out, I was like, okay, I'm going to reread everything up to Onyx Storm. But the twist that happens like at the end of Iron Flame, I was not a fan of the twist. And I was like, oh, I don't know if I want to like continue reading this. So I went into Onyx Storm thinking like maybe it would turn around fairly immediately or whatever. And it didn't. And I didn't like it. And so I was like, I'm just going to put it down for now and try picking it back up later. So that was probably my biggest disappointment for the year. If you like are in the same boat as me and you got to the end of Iron Flame and you didn't like the twist and you read all of Onyx Storm, tell me, did it get better for you? Like, please don't spoil me, but will you tell me in the comments below if it got any better for you as you went on? Next is my biggest surprise of the year so far. And I also feel like this might be controversial. This was like a big hot topic, but my biggest surprise of the year so far was Great Big Beautiful Life by Emily Henry. I was a fan. It was a 5-star read for me. I really liked that book. I thought that more so, I think people were saying that it wasn't as romance as some of the other things that she wrote, and they were expecting a certain thing from her specifically. Like, as an author, I come to you to get this thing, and that's not what you gave me. And I wish I saw more reviews of people like reading it and reviewing it just as the book itself, not as this is what I expected you to put out next as an author. Because I feel like while it wasn't, maybe it wasn't as much of a love story as what she normally writes, it was a story all about love. Like, you see love, kind of the concept of love conquers all, or does it? You see that in the main characters, you see that in the person that they're interviewing, you see that in parent to child love. Like, there's so many different ways that book talks about love, and I thought it was a beautiful story, and it was a really big surprise for me. I didn't expect to love it as much as I did, especially when I saw how everybody else felt about it. Next is a new favorite author, new or debut to me. Again, I didn't read a whole lot of new authors or debut authors this year, but there is one book that I picked up that was by Rufaro Faith Mazarura, and it was called Let the Games Begin, and it's kind of like an Olympic style, like sports romance type book. It was very cute, very fluffy, and that's the only thing that's out by her right now, so I'm really looking forward to her newest release, which I'll also pop up here on the screen, that I think is coming out in a few months from now. But I loved her writing style. I thought it was just such a sweet read, and so I definitely am looking forward to reading more things by her. And then next is what is my newest fictional crush, and I will say I'm not somebody who has a ton of fictional crushes. Like, I will love a love story, I will love the main character in a book when it comes to like how they fit the person that they're written for, you know? I'm not somebody who has a ton of fictional crushes. I will say a character that I liked a lot was Dr. Xavier Rush from Say You'll Remember Me. Despite my feelings on the book, it wasn't my favorite read. It felt unnecessarily sad to me. It was a hard, tough read for me. I did like him as a character, which is kind of why I feel like he got the short end of the stick in a lot of situations. But I love how he showed up for the family of the main female character. I love how he was really selfless and really kind, even though he was very like broody, bad attitude, whatever, kind of tell it like it is. His character, like the way that he behaved, his actions spoke really loudly for what kind of person he was. And I really loved how he took care of everyone around him, regardless of how he was doing himself. And for that reason, I really wish there were other elements in the book that would have taken better care of him, but you know, we're here. This is where we are. So I think he was a very well-written MMC. And next is newest favorite character, and I feel like this one might be sort of a surprise. It was a surprise to me because this is not my normal like type of read at all, but I am reading my first ever lit RPG, and I think my newest favorite character of this year has been Princess Donut from Dungeon Crawler Carl, which is really it's interesting because it's a really silly, goofy book, but it also tackles some topics relating to what would happen if the world was ending in this very specific way. And I think with what's going on in the world today, it's an interesting time to read it. But my newest favorite character is Princess Donut, the cat from Dungeon Crawler Carl. For a book that made me cry, I said I wasn't going to try to repeat, but I think the only book that made me sad enough to like shed a tear this year was Say You'll Remember Me by Abby Jimenez. It, like I said, it felt very so sad that it almost felt too sad. I have a lot of complaints about this one that are similar to the complaints that people have about Great Big Beautiful Life. I feel like I went into it as like a romance, expecting this beautiful happily ever after. And not that, I mean, some people might consider the way that that book ended to be that, but I think that for me, for as many times as a seed of sadness was sown into our consciousness as readers, it did not grow a happy harvest that took care of like all of the sadness that was sown. So I would say probably the saddest thing I've read this year was Say You'll Remember Me. And then a book that made me happy, I'm going to go with First Time Caller by B.K. Borison. This was so cute. It gave very like old school rom-coms I grew up on, Sleepless in Seattle vibes. And I think that the newness of it alongside the nostalgia of it made it such a warm, cozy, perfect, amazing, beautiful read. I loved that book. It was really, really good. So the next question is, what is my favorite book to movie or TV show adaptation? And I feel like this is maybe cheating a little bit because I have not read the book and I don't actually plan on reading the book because I don't think that it would be anything like the show. And I love the show a lot. So my favorite would be Forever. It was a Judy Blume book that was adapted on Netflix, and it was adapted by Mara Brockakill, and she did a stunning job. I'm shocked by how she could make a book that was originally about like a white family in the 1970s about Black families in the 2010s, and how seamlessly that adaptation worked, and how we were able to see so many real world issues that come up with young Black teens and families and everything. But at the same time, the show really centers Black joy. And I think that as a Black person, it is sometimes hard to find media that is not just about the struggle, because a lot of what happens for us in life like is the struggle. And so I thought this was a beautiful adaptation about Black joy. And so I really, really, really would suggest that you watch the show, but I didn't read the book, so I have no idea like how closely the show was adapted from the book. What is the most beautiful book that I bought or received this year? I have been on a no-buy pretty much all year. I haven't really gotten or purchased any new books really, like maybe a few here or there, but no like special editions or anything that was like particularly beautiful. And so I've gotten some things I like, okay, but nothing that I've been like, wow, this is like a super, super stunning book. So I don't really have an answer for this one. And then the last question is, what books do I need to read before the end of the year? I have so many that I want to get to before the end of the year. And so I'm going to link my summer OMR somewhere, maybe on the end screen. I don't know. So I'll put it somewhere so that you can go back and watch that if you want to see some of the books that are on my radar. But I have a lot that I'm looking forward to getting to this year. I think that even more when I start to get into the fall time and we look at the releases that are coming out in the fall, I'm really excited for like cozy fantasy reading this fall. And so yeah, I have a whole super long list, and you can hear about 30 of them on my summer OMR. So I hope you guys enjoyed this quick little bite-sized mid-year book freakout tag. I just wanted to pop in and talk about some of the books that I've read this year and some of the books that I'm looking forward to. I will see you guys in the next one. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.